Babies, too many, it's chaos. Too few, it's a crisis. India's leaders want 3 kids per family. South Korea is spending billions to convince people to have just one more. And France, despite all its efforts, fewer babies are being born every year. In this video, I will tell you why some countries are panicking over too many babies while others are desperate for even more. And I'm going to break it down country by country and explain what happens when humans try to make population interventions. I'm Manish Adhikari and you're watching First Things Fast. Before I start with the country-by-country population policy breakdown, I want you to understand two technical terms first: replacement level and fertility rate. So, replacement level refers to the number of children a woman needs to have on average to ensure that a country's population remains stable. For most countries, this number is 2.1 children per woman. The 2 replaces the parents, and the extra 0.1 accounts for children who might not survive to adulthood or people who don't have kids. If the fertility rate falls below this level, the population will eventually shrink. The fertility rate is the average number of children a woman is expected to have during her lifetime. If it's above 2.1, the population grows. If it's below 2.1, the population declines over time.
Let's turn to China's very well-known demographic challenges, really, and how they're planning to tackle that.
China's population story is the stuff of legend and warning. Its one-child policy, introduced in 1979, slashed birth rates and prevented an estimated 400 million births. Try to picture that. 400 million babies who were not born. But now, China is facing a demographic time bomb. The country's workforce is shrinking, and by 2050, over 30% of its population will be over 65. To fix this, China scrapped its one-child policy and is now actively encouraging families to have 3 children. But it's not working. In 2022, the birth rate hit a historic low of just 1.2. Why? Rising costs of housing, education, and childcare make having more children unaffordable for most families. Now let's move to South Korea, the epicenter of the global baby crisis. South Korea has the world's lowest fertility rate at just 0.7 children per woman. To tackle this, the government has spent over $270 billion on pro-natal policies since 2006, including cash handouts, free daycare, and even state-sponsored dating programs.
Local Korean governments are setting up the country's youth on dates.
But none of it is working. Young Koreans cite unaffordable housing, intense work culture, and the high cost of raising kids as major barriers. Without deeper societal changes, even the best incentives won't be enough. France is often considered the gold standard for family-friendly policies. It spends up to 4% of its GDP on childcare, maternity leave, and tax breaks, highest in the developed world. And yet 2022 saw the fewest births in France since World War II. Now, while these policies have helped middle-class families, they haven't done much to address deeper issues like rising living costs and shifting social priorities. The Nordic countries, Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, are often hailed as models for family policies. Sweden offers 480 days of paid parental leave, with at least 90 days reserved for fathers. These policies have had some success in maintaining higher than average birth rates in Europe, around 1.7. But even here, birth rates have started to decline as expectations adjust. Families now see these benefits as standard, not an incentive to have more kids. In the US, the fertility rate has fallen from 3.6 children per woman in 1960 to just 1.6 in 2023. But here's what's surprising. More than half of this drop is due to a dramatic decline in teenage pregnancies. Teen births are down by over 70% since 1990, thanks to better access to contraception and education. But lower birth rates among younger women mean fewer unplanned children, which has significantly reduced the overall fertility rate. Now, India's story is one of extreme. Its total fertility rate dropped from 5.9 in the 1950s to just around 2 today, but it's below replacement level in many states. But here's the paradox. While southern states like Kerala and Tamil Nadu are aging rapidly, northern states like Uttar Pradesh are still seeing high birth rates. This imbalance could lead to massive economic and social disparities in the future.
RSS Chief Mohan Bhagwat has called for a re-evaluation of India's population policy, suggesting that families should have 3 children instead of 2.
The RSS chief's call for 3 children per family reflects a fear that India might follow the path of countries like Japan, where low fertility rates lead to economic stagnation. From India's population paradox to South Korea's baby bust, one thing is clear: there's no one-size-fits-all solution. The governments must perhaps stop throwing money at the problem and start addressing the real barriers to building families. What are these real barriers? So living cost is one of the biggest challenges for anyone who is considering becoming a parent. High costs of housing, education and childcare make family planning unaffordable. In South Korea, for instance, housing prices in Seoul rose over 50% between 2017 and 2021, discouraging young couples from having children. Then there is this whole thing about workplace culture. Some of you may not have realized, but your job may be influencing your desire to becoming a parent or not. Long working hours and rigid job structure leave little room for parenting. Japan's grueling work culture persists despite government incentives for families, for instance. Gender inequality often leaves women with the double burden of career and children, pushing many to delay or avoid parenthood altogether. Then there is the housing factor. Young couples struggle to afford homes, often a prerequisite for starting a family. In India, cities like Mumbai and Delhi are becoming increasingly unaffordable for first-time buyers. And societies are also changing in a really big way. Delayed marriages and careers now take precedence over starting families. In the US, the average age of first-time mothers rose from 28 in 2000 to 30 in 2023. So what do you think? Can the world escape its baby crisis? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Also, make sure to like, share and subscribe for more in-depth stories on the issues shaping our future. Thanks for watching First Things Fast.